think is communication? If someone were to ask you to define, what is communication, what would you say? Imagine you win an examination, someone asked you, define the term communication. If we don't communicate well, it somewhat exacerbates conflict. Most of the conflict that we have with our peers, with our subordinates, with superiors, or even clients, it's mainly because we are not communicating well. Because most of the time, if we are able to solve the communication aspect, you may find out that we are able to solve most of the conflict that we have. And we are all not born good communicators. We have to learn this as we grow, as we go with the journey of life. Someone who is younger still needs to learn. Even if I'm 40 years old, 50 years old, there's always that one thing you can always pick up and learn, around communication. So, what would you say?
Share information.
To share information.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
To share information and meanings.
To share information and meanings.
Yeah.
What do you think, sir? I haven't heard you this morning.
I think it's listening.
You think it's listening?
Listening and speaking.
And speaking. Okay, thank you. Yes?
I think that's the mode of getting your message across.
The mode of getting your message across. Yes.
I would just say it's basically your thoughts put into words.
Your thoughts put into words.
Yeah.
I heard somebody. Oh, yes, sir.
Interacting.
It's
Interacting.
interacting. Okay? So between you and other people. All right. Communication is a two-way process of transferring information from the sender to the receiver, with the receiver sending feedback to the sender. Then you are communicating. If you are talking about interpersonal communication between two people, two or more people, like in this case, I am the sender of the information, you are the receiver, and you are sending feedback to me, back to me. And by the way, feedback is not necessarily response. It is just something like this. So let's say I say, guys, take your pens and write. I'm the sender, you're the receiver. I've passed a message to you. You may take your pens and write. You may not take your pens and write. Either way, you're sending feedback to me. Now, if you don't take your pens and write, what may it mean to me? It's either you're disregarding the instruction, we don't want to,
or you haven't received the message
or you haven't received the message properly. Either way, there is feedback. And who does the encoding? The sender. And the receiver does the decoding. So what is this? In communication, there's what is called a literal communication theory. Then there's what is called, technical communication theory and literal communication theory. Technical communication theory is almost like a parable, like a little story that has a meaning, that sort of thing, like an analogy. The analogy is a technical thing, then the meaning of the analogy is a literal thing. So, for example, it's like this. These two words here, encoding and decoding, they come from a root word called code, C-O-D-E. Code, like a password. Technically speaking, just picture this. My words get out of my mouth, they get in a little box, the words. Then I close the box with a password or a code, like 111, I close. Then the box comes to you as the receiver. What do you have to do to the box? To decode. So the process of closing the box with a code, technically speaking, that is what is called encoding. The process of opening the box with the same code, that is what is called decoding. Now, tell me, what would happen if I close the box with the, I close the box with the code 111, and you try to open the box with the code 110. It won't open, because the code is different. Now, literally speaking, it's like this. Encoding means to put your words in a way which is understandable by the receiver. To decode is to interpret. Like you guys, you're interpreting my words. You're interpreting what I'm saying. You're saying, what is this man saying? What is this person saying? What is he trying to say? You are decoding. To decode is to interpret. Like a decoder of a TV. It gets a signal, it what's the right word? It sort of takes the signal and translates the signal into a picture on the TV. That is to decode. Okay? And then you have the picture there. Now, it's like the message should be understood the way it was meant. Then there is communication. 111, 111. I remember I was training in Bloemfontein some years back, and I had a group of secretaries there. So this secretary tells me that one time, her boss, who happened to be also a woman, walked into the office one day holding a pack of apples. So she passes by. You know those offices where before you get to your office, you pass by your secretary's office, and then your one. I think pretty much like your office, sir, there. So he was holding a pack of apples. Then he goes like, she was speaking suit, of course. She goes like, Inca. Inca is a suit word. What does the Inca mean?
Take.
It means take. That is what the boss said. On the other hand, the secretary thought the boss is saying, take the apples and eat if you like. So she took all the apples and ate all of them. Now at 10 o'clock, the boss picks up the phone and says, hey, Margaret, can I have my apples? No, she's eating the last one. Can I have my apples, please? Can you see what happened here? What was the issue here? The message was not understood the way it was meant. There was miscommunication. Can you see? You can have conflict here. Some of the conflict we've had with our peers is simply because of miscommunication. Because the person who gave the message was not clear enough in making sure that we understand them. All right. The next thing here. Now, check. When you are communicating with somebody, this is very, very important. When you are communicating with somebody, remember communication can be verbal, can also be non-verbal. Verbal meaning spoken word. Especially when it's verbal. Your message is represented by this, looks like a pie, isn't it? This is your message. Like me, I'm the sender, you guys are the receiver. What I'm giving you is a message, which is represented by that pie. But the message itself is made up of three things. One, in the message, there is what, everybody? Words. Then there is voice. Then there is body language. These three things make up the message. Is there a difference between words and voice?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
It's how you say it.
It's how you say it.
The voice is the sound.
The sound. I like that, yes?
I think it's the emotional part of the words.
The emotional part of the words. Okay?
Because you can say it
All right.
smiling, or you can say it frowning, and being
How you
angry.
saying it, yeah.
Alright.
So
The
it's your,
attitude.
that's your, that's
Thank you
basically
very much.
your-
So the word is what you're saying. It's the content. Yeah? It's what you're saying. But then voice is the sound that carries those words. You know, if you can give a different meaning to words if you use different sounds and different tones. Something which was supposed to be so easy can become complicated simply because of the voice you used. But good communicators know it's not just the words that is important, it's also the voice and the body language. But look at this now. In your message, words, can you focus on this? In your message, words constitute only that much. 3% of your message. In other words, words don't mean much. It's not what you say that's really important. It's how you say what you say. It's like someone, maybe your subordinate said, she did something wrong. Like stupid, like wrong. Like they're not supposed to do this, but they did it anyway. Now she wants to apologize to you. And she's like, I saw it. Do you think she's sorry if she does that?
No.
But she's saying sorry. So can you see words are not that important? You know, in English, words have what's called arbitrary nature. They are subject to interpretation. So it's important for you to know it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying. So words are almost meaningless, especially around communication. It's not what you're saying. Look at the voice. How much percentage is voice? 39. You speak louder with your voice than you do with your words. And you know, this is very important in communicating, you know, because you're going to go back to the office. You're going to communicate with colleagues. You're going to communicate with clients over the phone. Your voice matters. You can't just say, no, I apologize. What more do you want? I apologize. No. How did you apologize if you messed up? How did you say thank you? There is a way you can say thank you to somebody, which means you mean it, or which means you're just being, following etiquette, but you don't mean it. And look at body language. Look at that. 58%. This is why they say action speaks louder than words. It's how you are saying what you're saying. And this is important in communication. And most of our conflict comes from this. Be simple and be clear. I don't know what has happened to our people, especially in Africa, not just in South Africa. We have this thing that if you hear someone speaking in English using big flamboyant words, we think they are smart. Have you ever come across people who are like that? I had the opportunity to be in England for just a little time. And when you're in England, English people, they speak English, isn't it? That's where it comes from. They are very simple when they speak. You may struggle with their accent. They've got a bit of an accent, especially from the north side. But their English is the simplest English you can find. Just take an African there. Okay. What's the chronology according to your chronometer? All he wants to say is, what's the time? Seriously? Just say, what's the time? And save us the effort to go to a dictionary. When you are communicating with people, some of the conflict comes from they didn't understand you because you're trying to be fancy. I don't know, I don't speak Afrikaans well, but I don't know if in Afrikaans if you have this. Do you have high Afrikaans?
Yeah. Yes.
Like high words?
Yeah.
Don't try to impress people with your Afrikaans that is high and your English that is high. What is the purpose of communication? It's to pass a what? A message. If the person you are giving the message doesn't understand you, then you have defeated the purpose. It's quite strange. I don't even know why we do that. You want to sound very smart. No. Be simple and clear. Read number 2, everybody.
Use everyday language.
You can limit communication, conflict, by using everyday language, using familiar language. You see, at this institution, because you're an academic institution, there's a language you use here, which is different from the language used in Standard Bank. You must use words that people are familiar with. Here, I'm not talking about simple words. I'm talking about UJ language, a university language, which is different from a bank language. Familiar words when you communicate with people. You remind me one time, a man, he was drowning in a pool of water. He was drowning this guy. And he was screaming, "Assistant!" People were just passing by. "Assistant! Assistant!" And people were just going. When the water was almost here, he began to say, "Help!" Then people began to help him. Do you say assistance when you need help? Besides, in Africa, we have people that are called assistants. So we don't know whether you're calling a person or you really want help. Use words which are familiar. Do you know, even in this room, if someone screams assistance somewhere in the corridors, we will remain sitting down. Yeah. But if someone says help, we will all run out to help that person. Because we associate that word with something. So use everyday language. Be concrete. Be specific as well when you communicate with people. Don't give instructions that are half-baked or a message that is half-baked, which is not concrete enough. Specific. What is it that you need? Then you can limit some of the conflicts that we have in the relationship as well. Another very important skill in communication is this. Everybody read for me?
Active listening.
I can't hear you.
Active listening.
Active listening. Listening is very important in communication. Some of the conflict we have with other people is because we just don't listen. If we just look at some of the conflicts you've had over the last few weeks with other people, the problem might just be no one between the two of you is listening. Most of those things could have been solved if you just kept quiet. You listen. You know what happens when you listen? When you listen, you empower yourself to respond accurately. If you don't have time to listen to that person, be assertive enough to tell them at that time that, look, I can't talk to you right now. I'm so busy with this. Can you talk about this at 10 o'clock? You are being assertive, isn't it? Don't pretend like you're listening and then you are not. You seem like you understood what the instruction was, but then you didn't. So what I'm saying is, listening is very important. Be a good listener. And listening is a skill. It's a skill which we are not born good listeners as such. We have to learn it, how to listen. Because human beings, we are generally a bit selfish. We want to be the ones to be listened to than the ones to listen. So smart people don't talk much. Smart people listen much than they talk. Sometimes people are bad listeners because they jump to conclusion. I know what you want to say. Hey. Maybe there's that particular student, that particular one, who comes to you, it's like you already know what they want. You've dealt with them last week. Yeah?
You think you know. You don't
Yeah, you are jumping. Yeah, you think you know. You are jumping to conclusion. Then you become a bad listener. Or having a closed mind around a particular person or a particular issue to say there is a particular person you just don't want to listen to, or a particular subject you don't want to talk about, or thinking that everybody thinks as you do, or excessive talking. Some people are bad listeners because they just talk too much.
Yeah.
Okay? Or arrogance. What can you tell me? You're just, and I'm, if it's like that, you're just a student, or you're just an administrator, or you're just a woman, or people who do that. Yeah. Wishful hearing. Hearing only the things you want to hear.
Yeah.
Or prejudice and fear and other reasons. These are some of the stumbling blocks to listen. So you must avoid all this. Never jump to conclusion. Don't talk too much. Don't be arrogant. Don't have a wandering mind. And so on and so on. Okay, good. The other thing I want to show you, just before we start talking about conflict in its isolation, there is something which is called the social mirror. Can you say social mirror?
Social mirror.
Now, what is a mirror? A mirror is a reflecting device. You look at it, then you can see yourself. So this is the social mirror, divided into two parts. It's yourself versus others. Conflict is always like this. It's you and other people. You and the other person. You and your superior. You and your subordinate and your colleague or whatever. So this part is myself. This part is the other person. What is my role? What role have I played? Then you can take corrective measures if you can see your role that you have played. And I told you also that sometimes if you take a good look at whatever is happening around conflict between you and the other person, you may actually see that it's you who is the problem than the other way around. Then you are mature. Now, everything starts here. Can you read this for me, everybody? 1, 2, go. Image of myself. This means, what kind of an image do you have about yourself? When you look at yourself, what kind of a person do you think you are? How do you see yourself? Alone, how do you see yourself? Because the way you see yourself creates what? Your attitude. All your attitudes, they come from the way you see yourself. Now, what is attitude? Attitude is a way of doing something. There's a way you greet people. There's a way you talk to people. There's a way. That's called an attitude. It comes from your attitude. Now, these actions that you do towards other people create the other people's expectations of you. The way you behave towards your subordinate, it creates an expectation now on that subordinate. How do I put it? Let's use this example. Let's say on Monday, you've got a daughter, let's say, but on Monday, you just decided, you know what, I'm going to buy my daughter chocolate. You buy a bar of chocolate. She never asked for the chocolate. It's you who decided to buy the chocolate. You go, you give her on Monday. It's a kid. She will be happy. On Tuesday, you bought it again. It's a kid. She will be happy. On Wednesday, you bought it again. It's a kid. She will be happy. What happens on Thursday? Can you see that your action created a what? An expectation. She didn't ask for the chocolate. You bought the chocolate. Now she expects the chocolate. Now because she expects the chocolate, let's say on Thursday, you didn't buy the chocolate. what happens? She begins to evaluate what? Your action. To evaluate means to say, why didn't mommy or daddy buy me chocolate today? What's up with him? Or what's up with her? Come on, you know what I'm talking about. She's evaluating you now. And the attitude will create a what? A reaction. This is when you send, maybe you ask your daughter and say, whatever your name is, please go get me a glass of water. You know? So she gets the glass of water. But then when she comes, you know, she's sulking. Then you look at her. What's happening? You are evaluating now that reaction. This is you now. To evaluate, you're looking at the child and you're like, why are you walking like that? Why are you behaving like that? Now you think the child is a problem.
But you actually created yourself.
But you created it. Can you see your issue here? You created an expectation which you can maintain. Now you think the other person has a problem. But the source of this problem was actually you. This is why you must never overpromise. And then you can't deliver. It's always better to underpromise and overdeliver. Because the expectations are not as high, unlike it is the other way around. Alright, let's move on.